Hey, what's up, Con Movie Maker viewers? Nate and Nick here, and today we're discussing some Battlefield 4 vehicle news that was launched in the Battlefield blog today. Say hi, Nick.
And God, I'm stoked right now. You cannot believe this. Like, there's so much crazy Battlefield 4 vehicle news on my screen right now. It's just super exciting.
I'm stoked too.
Nice. So, what do you want to talk about first here? This whole giant article here with tons of info.
I think we need to discuss the whole new sea battle stuff.
Oh gosh, that sounds exciting. Is it like waves and stuff?
Yeah, so basically with the new Frostbite engine, as you've probably seen, the waves actually changed the way the battlefield looked, kind of, so that you could hide behind waves and like go over waves with your boat, unlike just previous Battlefield games where the waves and the water is just completely flat and has no use at all.
AKA boring.
Boring. So we want excitement. So this is why Frostbite is so much better this time around. So the way that they did vehicles or boats in particular on Battlefield 4 is they try to make them more like tanks on water, so that you could basically get the same customization you get from in a helicopter or a tank on land and in the air, with all the different types of gadgets you can add to it, and the guns and the customizations and countermeasures that you could add to helicopters and tanks. That's how they try to add that to the boats, so that boats become more of like a crucial part of the game compared to them just being transport vehicles and ditching them.
True. That is very true. Is they also are adding another boat, the personal watercraft that was so famously used in Battlefield 2 Special Forces and Bad Company 2, which is it's basically a jet ski.
Jet skis.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very good idea that they're putting it in, just because they stated on there that you could have some captains of a boat. That's little air quotes there. You could have captains sail out about 300 meters, and well, you're stuck out there if they don't know what they're doing. So it's good that you could just hop into that, and you don't have to actually swim the whole way back. Although the swimming animation is pretty boss. So.
Yeah, but I like ramming jet skis into other stuff to make them explode.
Yeah, ramming into rocks, man. Those are good times.
Good
times.
Battlefield Bad Company 2. All right, so basically the next thing we're going to discuss is land vehicles and how some of the stuff in land vehicles are different. So the main thing in land vehicles is they added more customization slots. So you can now, and originally in Battlefield 3, you can only change your secondary, your upgrades, and your gadgets. The 3 slots you could add. But now you have, I'm guessing 5, the way it's written out here, but I'm not entirely sure on that. You can change the way your primary weapon works, so you can get a higher explosive round in the tank that fires slower compared to a normal round. It's all preference. But and the main thing that they split up was they split up optics and countermeasures, which originally countermeasures and optics were under the same category, so they got mixed up a lot. Nick, you want to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, that is very true, especially in Battlefield 3, because if you didn't have a countermeasure, you were just going to get locked on by everything. In the air, from the ground, hell, even on like the ocean or something, I don't know. But you kind of needed countermeasures just to get rid of all those missiles. But at the same time, optics, especially in this game, since the maps are allegedly really big, so optics would definitely help a lot more with the countermeasures this time around compared to Battlefield 3, where you just use countermeasures.
Yeah, I mean, I like using optics because it's such an easier job. So half the time I would sacrifice that for and wouldn't have countermeasures, and I'd just be completely like screwed once someone realized, oh, I can just javelin this guy.
Yeah, it was very true. They called it a no-brainer in the article that you should use countermeasures, which kind of showed that optics weren't really that useful in Battlefield 3.
Even the developers realized that. So, Nick, you want to discuss the new critical hit system?
Oh, the critical hit one. This is a little interesting. Well, for things, I'll just go with land vehicles as an example, because they're probably going to be the most obvious vehicle there. So for land vehicles, say you'll take a hit, and in Battlefield 3, you take a significant enough hit that your vehicle, catches on fire, you can't drive it, you lose control, and then you're 3 miles out into the middle of the desert in Bandar or something, and then it blows up and you're sad because you're not an engineer. But that's a little different now in Battlefield 4, just because when you get a critical hit, you have that same loss of control, loss of power, almost on fire type thing with your vehicle, but it's only temporary, and then the vehicle sort of just automatically recovers. That way you don't have to be an engineer per se, and you don't have to run across the expansive desert and hope for an oasis nearby.
Yeah, so there's no more like disabled vehicle thing. This acts as a disabled vehicle, but it's like not like a permanent effect like in Battlefield 3 where you just have to wait until your tank blew up or an engineer repaired it. This is just a temporary thing. I mean, you're still gonna have to repair your vehicle because I'm sure it's obviously gonna take damage and it's not gonna recharge as fast as you need it to. But it definitely affects that. Like if your tank's rolling in the middle of the desert and you hit a landmine, and then it's disabled and you're so far in the middle of the desert, you just sit in dock or you're way too far away from the battle.
That's true.
Which, as I was saying with the desert thing, this does help, like the whole what Battlefield 4 is trying to do, is trying to keep people in the battle more than having to do the whole I die and I'm going to have to run a long distance to get back in the fight. So.
Yeah, that's very true. That's what they're doing with the personal watercrafts and everything, and I would assume that they're also doing it with the air vehicles, like we said before, where you could have different customization things. So you could have them in certain vehicles. So you say like, oh, I want to go on the transport instead of just take a car and get stranded out in the middle of the road, which would be good.
So we're going to move on to air, and the first thing that they did with the air is they switched. They made two classes of jets, a fighter jet, which is more for like air-to-air, and then they made the air-to-ground jet. And each of these have a different unlock for the different unlock systems, so they have different customizations that you could put so that one helps, obviously the air-to-ground would have stuff to help with air-to-ground, and air-to-air would have the same thing. So
it's very descriptive.
Yeah. So basically the air-to-air thing would have like better air-to-air combat compared to the air-to-ground, which would have air-to-ground combat customization. So that helps a lot. And basically they're keeping the transport helicopters, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to add more customizations to that class so that you feel the need to be a passenger in a transport jet, or a transport helicopter, my bad. Where in Battlefield 3 you saw that the transport helicopter was like, I need to bail out kind of thing. Those
Yeah, like quickly get from point A to B, then crash it into like a crane or something.
I'm hoping this brings it back to how it was in Battlefield Bad Company 2, where those mini guns on the side of those jets were so deadly that like you needed them to win a match.
Yeah, it actually made it more of a support thing other than just transportation.
Right.
Hopefully they'll do with this. So.
Yeah. I guess the last thing we have to discuss is we're going back to tanks. The new whole like damage system and how the armor works, and so Nick, you want to discuss that?
Oh, the armor? Okay. Now with, say, we'll have a main battle tank. Now, for most people, it's pretty obvious. You shoot it in the front, you know, it's going to take more than a few shots to actually blow it up. You shoot it from the side, it takes a few less. But now they're adding in a whole different kind of feature where if you're shooting it at a more glancing angle, maybe a slanted armor, it'll do less damage. And with this, they also added another feature, which is a top zone to the tank, which they didn't really have too much of in Battlefield 3. It's maybe only like a bottom zone for like C4 or something. And the top zone would be more useful, say, if you had a javelin, because if you had one javelin come down, you'd probably blow up that thing, no deal, easily.
Yeah, so then that plays into the more of using teamwork to ambush a tank, distracting it from the front while someone hits it in the back, which is the weakest point of the tank, or ambushing it from a buildings in the middle of a street. So it adds more of that whole work together feature and everything. So teamwork. Yay, teamwork. Alright, so that basically ends this Battlefield 4 news video. As we get closer to the Battlefield 4 beta coming in early October, we're not entirely sure on the date, but we'll get that date as soon as it comes out to you guys. So when that comes out, we'll definitely have a ton more Battlefield 4 like gameplay videos and class customization like tips and everything. So make sure to subscribe and check, wait for those and check those out when they come out. And of course, tons of launch videos as well. So
I'm pretty stoked.
I'm stoked.
Really stoked. I don't usually say that, but I'm stoked.
He's stoked. You know it's good when Nick's stoked.
I'm not always stoked, but when I am stoked, it's for Battlefield 4.